Hi.
Hi.
Alright, so should we?
Yeah,
New
sure,
board
we just
member?
get started.
Yeah,
No.
let's get started.
Do you want to know who I am?
Maybe you will, we're going around.
You are. Well, wait, maybe I can, are you Kenzie?
Yes, I am. I'm Kenzie.
Hi, Kenzie.
Well,
Welcome.
thank you.
You're reporting out a little bit on some FOSS activities later on?
Yes, I wasn't sure what to expect, but
If
I
you,
prepared some things.
okay.
We're not usually this one. This is like a break.
What?
Really
Yes, we
No,
are.
we are.
Saying.
Gavel.
We're used to being this place. It's so comfortable. Okay, well, while we get started here, folks, I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Council on Aging at 5:34. Board of Directors, we will do, well, I guess because we always do, we do a quick run around on the table just as an introduction, and then we'll move to maybe taking a look at minutes, and I'm hoping in all these packets that everybody's got minutes from Thursday, January 12th.
Yeah.
So I'm J.D. Miller, I'm chairman of the board.
I'm Susan Drevich Kelly, vice chair of the board.
Janice Lindblom, board member.
Joan Powers, liaison for
Yeah.
South Shore Elder Services.
I'm Kenzie Vanderbrook from FOSS.
Marie Fricker, board member.
Laurie Brady, board member.
Susan Folk, board member.
Dee Dwyer, board member.
Pat Carlton, board member.
Leslie James, board member.
Welcome all, thank you for being here. So we want to go through minutes, and I can't remember who our rotational recording secretary is for tonight.
I think it might be myself, I'm not sure.
Okay?
Do you think so, Sue? Feels like
Sounds
it must
good.
be my turn. Find out.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Susan did it the last time.
Yeah. I knew it before that.
Okay, great, so I think everyone's got minutes, based on all the paper that we just passed around. I'm not sure who's got what anymore, but please take a look at your minutes from January 12th, last month.
She did a great job.
If you see anything.
Anyone missing minutes?
Yes,
I have an extra. It should be the second page in, here. Here. I made a copy. There you go.
Does anyone have any edits, comments, omissions, changes to our January 12th minutes? Want to hear, can I have a recommendation on approval, please?
I motion that we approve the minutes.
I second the motion.
All right, very good.
Susan.
Okay, well, so as is obvious, Linda is not here. She gave me some very, very brief notations to make a note of, so I will try to do well. And partly is some things aren't being reported out this month. So first of all, we do not have a transportation report, but we do have a new transportation coordinator who's been hired and accepted, Kelly Walsh, and she will be starting on March 6th. So we're still another month away. from having Kelly on board, but, so we'll be scrambling to handle transportation for the next a couple of weeks, and then Kelly will be joining the team the first week of March, so that's great. But otherwise, there is no transportation report. There is no outreach report from Aaron, and Linda's very, very brief notes just mentioned a couple of things. Well, I just mentioned that Kelly Walsh will be starting. I don't know if everyone, in no specific order, I don't know if anyone or everyone had attended or had any questions on the Scituate aggregation electrical program that the town is trying to roll out. Because if you do, you're welcome to ask if I can help answer any questions. So the town of Scituate is buying electricity supply in bulk to provide to town residents. We've gone out with, I think there was 5 or 6 other towns, and don't ask me to mention which ones they were, but that enabled us to buy bulk in the marketplace, and this is all kind of way out there. Buy bulk electricity at a decent rate because of our buying power, with 5 or 6 towns buying in bulk, that we will then pass along to town residents. It is a program that I believe starts
March 1st.
Does start in March, okay.
Yeah, it starts on the billing cycle of March 1st.
I'm sure there's some information on the town website. There were a couple of meetings last week for community information. One was here, one was at the town library, and I'm not sure if there's one other one that
Are
was.
they having any more?
No.
Because
I'm not sure. I thought I heard
this
maybe
place
one more.
was-
Right. The one thing I will say about it, I did, and I had taken voluminous notes, and I left that on my desk. But everyone should have gotten a letter and a card and everything if you want to opt out, which I don't know why anyone would, because it's significantly less per kilowatt than what we're paying now. Right now, we're paying 33 plus cents. And this plan will be like 16 something cents. The one thing that Scituate is picked out what they're calling like a classic option, which include, it's a little bit higher, it's like 16.7 cents per kilowatt, and it includes 10% of that would go towards renewable energy. But when somebody asked at the meeting, if it's not necessarily guaranteed that it's all going directly back to it's just, to help the whole area, because we're in an aggregate, and it's not just local communities, there are some communities that are further away. You can opt to get the basic plan, which then would lower your rate to 16.3 cents per kilowatt. Or you can opt to be a real greenie and do a much higher percentage of renewable energy, but it's gonna cost,
It would be
like
100% renewable.
yeah, 100% renewable, but it's 17
It would cost
plus.
a little bit more.
Right. So if you wanna opt for either one of those, the basic or the 100%, you have to call and let them know. And I do.
Or you have to opt out on a postcard, or you send them an email.
If you wanna opt out altogether.
Yeah, the town residents are immediately opting in. You're automatically enrolled in this program.
You're
Unless
automatically
you opt
enrolled
out.
in the 10% renewable at 16.
So
That's
your
the automatic one?
action
That's the
step is
automatic
to opt out if you want to take an action,
Yeah,
not to opt
because-
in.
My husband was saying, we had already done something like this a year ago.
Yeah,
And he's only paying 17
Yeah,
cents,
me-
because I'm not gonna bother with it.
right,
We
me
didn't
too.
realize that that was not an option. I mean, you have to opt
You
out.
have to opt out.
Oh, no, if you're with another one,
Yeah,
then you'll
I think you're
automatically.
automatic.
You're
'Cause
automatic.
I called on that, because I'm in the same situation.
Oh,
I
okay.
already have a,
The only thing that you have to do is you do have to call if you want it to be the basic, which is the 16.3 cents a kilowatt hour, with none of your money going towards renewable energy. Or if you want to go with the option, which is the super duper 100%, it's 17 point something cents. And you can actually take a deduction on the difference between the basic and what that is. But with either one of those, you have to call, and I have the number if anyone wants it.
And unless you're already with a third-party electrical supplier and you have a really good rate, this would be a money saving for you.
Yeah. So if anyone needs the
I called
number.
National Grid, because we're on a budget amount. You know, every month they automatically withdraw.
Mhm.
And they said it won't make any difference.
No,
They do a
it's-
6-month review and then it'll probably just go down next time.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, this is only, we're still gonna be serviced by National Grid. National Grid will be responsible for any issues with outages and all that. The only thing that's changing is our supplier of the energy to the grid. That's what's changing, and that's what we're going into an aggregate for the supply. So you'll still be getting your bill from National Grid, so.
And that line item will be on your National Grid bill, like now.
You know, Pat is making a good point, because you're paying more right now for your budget, right?
Right, I could off of the budget too.
Oh, okay. So she was talking about the
Yeah,
paying more, because she's on that budget
yeah.
at the 33.
But when it goes into effect in March, you get it, you know, they're gonna take it all away.
Is
You're
that
gonna get a
less-
credit for it.
Is that less than people, what people are paying that have solar panels?
No, if you have solar panels, you're probably in good shape and you don't have to do anything. And or you're opting out. Because it's solar, with the solar panels, and maybe Joe, I know Joe, you can speak, but you're probably not paying anything anyways. You're making money. So,
But you still need a source of electricity,
Right.
so,
I was just curious.
and you don't wanna opt out altogether, you know, on a day like today.
yeah, I'm sure you could go on the town website.
And
And,
the meeting is, was on SCTV.
okay. And
So I was told.
I thought I saw one more meeting being scheduled, but I don't have that information.
Yeah, that's.
It's very confusing because consumers have never done this before. None of us really have done this before. You know, you never really thought about it, but
It's a great
it's
opportunity.
it's an opportunity to save some money, number one, so it helps your checkbook. You're just buying electricity at less than National Grid would be supplying it to you. So it's a cost savings to you and it makes good sense. So
Because
I would
National
urge you
Grid
to look
only,
at it.
National Grid just goes out, they go out twice a year. They go out at a designated time twice a year, regardless of what the market conditions are. Whereas, direct, community electricity, whatever, it's community choice electricity who's the vendor of this. They wait to go out, they have analysts that wait to go out to bid on the rate with suppliers. Based on market conditions, that's how they can get a better rate. So that's how it works. But, so everybody's opted in, everybody's getting it. If you don't want it, you have to call them, and if you want to get either the basic or the higher renewable, you have to call them.
So the one that's not basic or the higher, that's the one at 1676?
The standard is like 16.7, the 100% renewable is
It's
like
17
17.9.
yeah, 9, and then the
Or something like
basic
that.
is 16.3.
And how long is that guaranteed for?
Through,
It's guaranteed for like 20 months, the next
Yeah.
20 months. And then they, as an organization, in a year, will go out to bid again, buy, and then there'll be a new rate established for when these expire and it's due to go.
I think it goes
due to
through
go.
December 2024.
Yeah.
But again, it would be the same if you were doing anything else. Like if you were going to another electrical supplier, they're gonna give you rates that they've got then. So that's aggregation, electricity aggregation. I will just note here that there is going to be a GATRA sloop change in town, and I don't have all the details. Linda just alerted me that the sloop is moving forward on making a change, and I believe it's based on the change that, if any of you recall, we had them in I wanna say like, summertime of a year ago.
Yeah.
And basically the program is gonna be, on call. So, instead of this loop, just looping around town and not having any passengers, they're gonna be on call to be able to pick up and drop off as needed. But I don't have any details, but
There's
that
a whole
is,
bunch of handouts over that.
okay, but that is coming down the pike.
I think it's already started,
Okay,
because it's free for the month of February.
okay.
See how
I
it works.
I do have an activities report. You all probably have an activities report in your packet of papers.
The numbers are pretty stable, but looks like a big drop in the lunch
I
program.
need one from,
From 240 to 6200. No.
Which Fred is probably filled.
Yeah, a lot of it's probably weather, it was around like the time of the holidays too, right, people had stuff to do.
But less in January than December.
Yeah,
snowbirds.
well, probably the
Yeah.
cold weather, I guess.
So, yeah, just to announce to the audience, so there were no trips for cultural education in December through March, which sort of reduced some of the numbers. There's a information sharing successful workshop on decluttering to de-stress. It'll be conducted, or it already was, with Susan Kelly, you?
No, I did,
No?
so Anita Ahern did the one on decluttering, and I did one
New
on
Year, New You.
reinvention, New Year.
Okay. Bob Jack, new classes continue to be popular. There's a new Britain's War series with David Barrett that's been popular. The cardio machines are still in use, and/or we're gonna line out the door sometimes for exercise machines.
Linda found 4 people in the room the other day.
Right, yeah, I mean, there's a problem when we can't get more 44 people in the room.
Why is it that you can only have 2 at a time? With
I
this
think
4
it has something to
machines?
do with COVID.
Yeah.
Yes, initially it was COVID.
It's also a
then-
really tight room.
Yeah. That one's gonna be bigger.
It is interesting that, I think the note she was making is, the reason why the numbers went up on the information sharing is because of those 2 programs. That's what she was making. Yeah, I think Linda's original thought was she didn't want to turn it into what's already available, like the recreation and all that stuff, for the exercise. But it is a little, I think everything is smaller than we need it. It's like I think we've already outgrown the building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Who knows?
Volunteer training at the front desk? Any comment on that? Is that happening?
It
Was
did.
No, we had a meeting,
Yeah,
Okay.
we had a meeting.
and everybody showed up, and went through a lot of things, and then Jess was following up with individual shifts
Okay.
for specifics.
We've added 2 new dishwashers to the kitchen crew. And since I personally know Dick Eckhouse, I will also reiterate that we sadly lost Dick Eckhouse last week. He passed away. He's just a friend of mine and a presence here at the senior center, and but he passed away last week. So there was a note here, so I'll announce it here. Some things that are coming up, special events, looking forward to a festive Valentine's Day with a music duo, and I believe that's on Monday, this coming
13th.
Monday, the 13th. Certainly St. Patty's Day is probably ramping up in terms of luncheon, parade, and all the extra events. Some new program offerings in terms of a stretching class, tax prep workshops, a program on downsizing, how to slow the aging process. That's a good one for everyone. Tech time, we do have tech time with students starting again, which I don't know anything about because I'm back and forth to high school and I didn't have any of that information, but that's great. So if they're starting to provide some tech tips, that'd be awesome. And we administer a fitness and activity survey and, that I believe is Jess is on top of, and she's still tallying data to be able to take a look at what the feedback is in terms of that survey, so, of folks. So that's activities from Jessica. I don't really have anything else from Linda to pass along. So maybe we'll move right into our, unless anybody has any questions, comments, move into our liaison reports. And maybe we'll start with Joan.
What?
We'll hand it over to you.
Oh, okay, already, huh? Okay. Did everybody get,
Yes.
did I get one of these?
Yep.
So the meeting was held on February 7th. A detailed financial report was given, including highlights and revenue and expenses. And a detailed budget process was given. They told us how they do the whole thing and figure out the budget. And then there were papers on South Shore Elderly Services, the money management program, and their fact sheets, all the things that they do. And then the COA thought this would be good to give to everybody on the board, the Mass Home Care. So on the left it tells you what they do, and on the right it's all the services. And then there's a lot of, information they thought people might be interested. And they gave samples at the bottom.
So they actually provide in-home care.
They do a little bit, yeah.
The home care,
Yes.
yeah, there's a big waiting list because they don't have enough.
No, don't have enough staff to be able to do it.
Look at the, the projection though for the number of people that are gonna need home care is like pretty mind-boggling.
Wow. And then they had each board member tell about the senior center, what was going on, and about the housing situation. And I had told you before, they wanted to do Meals on Wheels over at Wheeler Park.
Right.
But that was,
You
That
were
was-
able to nix that, right?
I think they've had in 1 month, they've had 1 person interested. But in Braintree, there's a lot of conversation and a lot of people are very unhappy about the idea of having senior housing in the parking lot of South Shore Plaza. So they were talking a lot about that.
Well, I don't know.
Well, yeah, so no, it's Lord and Taylor,
A new development?
or are they gonna actually put buildings
I
in?
don't know, I have heard that there was plans to put
We
apartments
did- we
there.
developed some-
I didn't know it was senior housing.
Well,
They're having a big discussion about it.
I know that Lord and
Sorry.
Taylor is gonna be used for, I think they're converting that over and just,
Not like, isn't this, there's
But
like an
they're doing
area
it
back
all
in
over,
the parking lot, I think.
They're gonna do it behind the new theater in Hanover Mall.
yeah.
Oh, those buildings are,
Huh?
this already,
They're
No,
already-
there's
already
another
I've
whole
heard
section,
about it,
there's
yeah.
another whole section
Yeah.
behind Market Basket that they're gonna put in senior apartments.
wow.
All the towns, but they're all
Yeah.
doing, the state's doing it in all the different towns, especially if you have.
well, they have to, because when you think, the average lifespan has increased tremendously. Massachusetts is has one of the fastest growing 80-plus populations in the country. We're like aging very well here in Massachusetts.
And
And so there's a limited amount of the housing for seniors.
Well, and a lot of them are moving out of Boston.
Yeah. I mean, housing is an issue, the cost of that housing is a different story. If they're saying that we have all these senior apartments available, great, but if a senior apartment's available at $3,000 a
Yeah.
month, it's not so great. So,
It's not how much.
And then, St. Luke's is gonna do their community dinner again. And we had
and then
45
is
people.
it this Sunday?
It's a fourth Sunday, so it's the 26th.
Okay.
It's always a fourth Sunday. And we're gonna have beef stew and cherry pie.
Ooh, cherry pie, that sounds good.
We had 45 people last month.
Okay.
Is that Washington's birthday?
On me?
Is that Washington's birthday?
No, the 26th.
No, it's always, that's why they're doing cherry pie, because it's a month of Washington's birthday, but it's always the fourth Sunday of the month.
Oh, Sunday.
John, I asked you this last night. In Scituate, we're delivering, what'd you say, 48 Meals on Wheels?
With what?
Meals? Meals. Meals on Wheels in Scituate. How many?
I think right now we have like 45.
Yeah, okay,
And then we do the bags for Norwell, which is like 20.
okay.
Because Norwell has drivers, but they don't have anybody to work in the kitchen. So what happens is, we have to do their bags to put the milk and the bread and all that in. And so when the driver comes, he picks those up and
And then
then,
he goes delivers.
because Norwell's the end of the route.
Seems to me that's gone up over, 45, 48 has gone up from, the numbers have gone up,
It's changes,
yes?
we've had up to like 55.
Yeah,
And we even have them in Humrock now too.
So do you cook stuff there, or is it just all prepackaged?
What?
Is there food cooked there, or is it all prepackaged?
No, we have a caterer.
Okay.
So the caterer, when he comes, he brings the milk and the bread. He has that the day before, right? And so the day of it, we go in and we have to, make bags, separate bags, paper bags with milk. You gotta separate the bread, put it in plastic containers, and they get a dessert. And then when he comes, he takes the bag, he gives us the meals. And then our drivers, have bags that they put the meals in, and the meals are already sealed.
Okay.
And then they get the bag.
And they're
with
cold,
the
they
bread
have
and
to
the milk.
microwave them, they're not cooked, they have to microwave them.
Okay.
And, so that's what he comes and does. We usually have to wait for the meal and the dessert always comes when the driver comes. So usually we have 4 routes, and it takes, most drivers, it takes almost an hour.
I was gonna say an hour and a half. Well, we appreciate all the work you do.
Yeah, it's surprising though, because we don't have a lot of people in Central Park, both buildings. We have quite a few in Wheeler, but not Central Park.
True, it could be, yeah.
Central Park, come over here for lunch.
Yeah, they might be just walking across the
Yeah,
street,
they
to come over
probably
here. So,
I think that's what we do.
thank you, Joan. So Kenzie is reporting out on, a little bit on FOSS activities.
Right.
Welcome.
Thank you. So the board met on February 1st, and we won't have a board meeting. We don't have one scheduled at this time. There may be one in March. We have a general meeting March 21st for everyone who is a member. Our membership continues to grow. We have a 95% return rate for the requests that we send out. We give things out downstairs. Whenever we go anyplace, we give out our application forms, I guess we can
Good.
call them.
Yeah.
And it's very successful, and we're getting donations as well, which is really nice. There's always an option to donate. It's a very minimal amount of money to join FOSS. So it's nice to get a donation in addition to that. We continue to provide coffee for all of the activities in the center.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
definitely, thank you.
That's-
My grief support group pension.
That's
Yeah, I mean,
well used.
we didn't know whether people really understood that we were providing it, so there are some signs around here and there. Because it's not, it's a fairly expensive
Yeah.
thing to do, because
Every single
there are
day.
so many people,
Right.
people come in the morning to get a cup of coffee and hang out for a little while, or they might come back in the afternoon. People who get there are paying for their lunch, oftentimes think that the coffee is part of what they've paid for. But in fact, Foss is providing that coffee as well as
Yeah.
for all of the group meetings that go on during the day. So I think the last time we got a written request from Linda, it was for around $2,000 just for coffee.
Covering what time period?
Well, we only have, we don't really have a whole year last year, so we don't really have a whole year to project.
Mhm.
But I believe, this is just a remembrance, I think within the last maybe 6 months, we've given $800 at one time, and then another $2,000. And we don't know how long that will last, because we don't have a track record
Mhm.
to say, oh, it's going to cost, X amount of dollars every month, because they really haven't been giving it out that long.
Mhm.
So I would like to say we're looking forward to that. But we suspect it's going to be even more than we anticipated.
Well, a lot of people appreciate it. so
And,
thank
and a
you.
lot of people, it gets them out of the house.
Yeah.
Because they just come in to get a coffee and hang out and meet people and talk, and, that's a good thing.
That's a
Yeah,
good thing.
That's a
particularly
really
with
good
how
thing.
much it costs to get a cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, that's a
Right,
very good thing.
exactly. And, I don't know what we're buying for coffee, because we don't do that. Linda does that. We just give her the money and she goes out.
We're buying good coffee.
Yeah, and I know I'm not a coffee drinker, so
It's important.
yeah. So I know it's fairly
That's why we
decent,
need more
because there are no
volunteers, right?
complaints. No one ever complains and says, oh, I'm not coming back because this coffee is bad,
Right.
But I don't know what it is that we're paying for, but decent for sure. We also provide the Hershey's Kisses,
Oh,
which
wow,
everybody
those are really
can-
popular.
They're hugely popular, fortunately not as expensive as the coffee, because they go fairly rapidly, and we buy them in bulk, and so they go in bulk as well.
Yeah.
So we try to keep them always, everything full downstairs. We have money in the Jimmy Young Memorial Fund, and we discussed with Linda perhaps having a quarterly kind of afternoon concert after lunch. We don't have any outstanding requests for that right now, but we still have money in the account, so we could pay for that.
Mhm.
And that money in his fund is specifically targeted for music. His family asked that, and we said we would honor that.
Good, nice.
We've got landscaping bids for the Betty Johnson Memorial. That's a tree, if you don't know. It's
Gonna be over
outside.
here.
It's out on
First
the
Parish.
grass in the
Right,
back. And we're going to do some hardscaping around it. And we also paid for a bench. And we don't know where the bench is situated right now, but
I think it's over near the bocce court.
I think it is too. But we weren't really sure because it could move around.
Mhm.
And we hope that that will be by the tree, where people can sit and reflect, and hopefully sooner or later, the tree will get big enough that it
Yeah,
will shade
go
the
some
bench,
shade,
and
right.
it will be a lovely place to sit. So we're doing that now. As I said earlier, I don't think we have any outstanding written requests from Linda, but we're ready to honor them when they come in. In the planning stages, we have an antique car show and cookout scheduled for the 10th of June.
Summertime? Okay.
Yep. And they're not going to be like 50s cars. They're going to be like Rios and Model Ts and the really old cars that people don't get to see very often. And it's also going to be open to the public. It's going to be back near the fence, we think. We've talked to Linda about it, and she's very excited about it, I
I mean,
think.
here on this
Near
property,
what?
Yes, in the back.
in the back.
Yeah,
Back
by
over
the
here?
fence, yeah.
Okay.
So they said that they
Okay.
would.
On the weekend?
Yes, It's a Saturday. No, it's a Monday. No, it's a Saturday.
No, it's on Tuesday. The same day as Bob Jackman.
So
Yeah, program, we come off.
we expect between 6 and 10 cars. We're hoping for 10 cars. People can have their picture taken with them. They're not really able to touch them or sit in them or take a ride in them. But we thought that a lot of kids might be interested in seeing them because they're not something that you see every day
I
on the
think a lot
road.
of adults will probably.
Yes, I think so too. And then we're just gonna have simple kind of hot dog and hamburger kind of cookout.
So is there an admission fee? How are you doing that?
We are paying. There will be a donation.
Bucket or something?
Yeah, a bucket for the people who are bringing their cars, but we're also giving them a stipend to come in. So, and we haven't decided yet. We might do we think maybe we'll do some cornhole for kids.
Something to
there'll be
raise.
Something
So
fun
it will
to
be a
do.
fundraiser.
It might be. We're thinking maybe we could do a raffle, but we're not really sure at this point. It's still pretty early to sort of figure out the logistics of everything and how it's all, the parking,
Yeah.
how people are
Parking.
gonna move their cars in and out. We don't
One
know.
day only, or both Saturday and
It's,
Sunday?
no, it's just one day, and I think it's the day after graduation, so there may be some out-of-town people as well. But we don't really know what, how many people would show up, how the logistics of moving through the
Sure.
parking lot, whether there's going to be a sports activity on the same
Yeah, that
day.
would be my question.
Yeah, and so we're thinking probably 3.5 to 4 hours at this point. And sort of not around the cookout, but sort of the cookout would be after it started, but long before it ends. So that would, some people may come in for the cookout and then stay, and there'd be other people that would come to see the cars and then stay to get a burger or a hot dog with their kids.
Sure.
So we think it will be fun and something different, and we haven't had a lot of things that specifically targeted the kinds of people that would be interested in this kind of activity. So we'll see who comes. Oops, I lost my notes. We're also thinking about having another high tea. I don't know if you all have come to the high tea, but
I
it
heard it was
was
very successful.
hugely popular and very successful. We ran out of tickets. We only had half of the downstairs because something else was going on at the same time. We have to have it on a Friday, so that we don't interfere with lunches. And then at the time, I think there was also a movie going on in the other half of the room.
Right.
So we could, I think we could only have 54 people, which sounds like a lot, but we really had so much more response than that. And once we got the tickets printed and told people that we had them, they sold out almost immediately. People bought whole tables. And it was really fun. I wasn't here for it. I was out of town that weekend. But people loved it. And we had wonderful little sandwiches that our own chef made. We had little tiny delicacies. Everything was exactly like a high tea, as if you went to the Copley Plaza or, is there still a Copley Plaza? I don't even know, not from here. But yes, like that, where you go in and it's on a triple tier and the sandwiches are tiny and there was cream and there was special jam and all kinds of wonderful things. So it was really fun.
So Friday is Books Day, so you probably want to talk to Linda about maybe not having movie on that day.
I think so. I think we haven't talked to her yet because we haven't decided when would be the best time to have it. Whether it would be good to try to have it like early summer or whether it would be better to wait until the end of summer to have it. So we're still in the discussion stages. And since we did that all ourselves, except for coordinating with Linda to get the space, we could really do it on our own timetable.
Kenzie, you may have already said this, but does this also raise funds for FOSS?
Yes, it
Good.
does. And we tried to keep it at a reasonable
Yeah.
amount.
But even so, you make a little
And
money.
we didn't make a whole lot of money this time because we had to buy things like we have two people on our board who are from England, and so they had specific requirements that we had to meet. We needed to have tablecloths with flowers around the edges, because that's a traditional kind of thing. So we used white tablecloths, and then we had to go out and buy tablecloths. So we, whatever, how many can you fit? 6 around the table, so we had 8 tablecloths we had to pay for, and a bunch of other silliness like that. So when we do it the next time, because now we have everything we
Yeah.
need, we'll actually be able to make some money.
Good.
It was kind of a wash
Good.
last time. But it was so popular and so much fun that we thought we should probably try to do it every year, that it could be a kind of thing that people look forward to every year. Especially if we could only have 54 people, it would become a really good ticket to have. And second, in planning stages is something, music and dancing similar to the harvest dance that we had in the fall, which was also very, very popular. And we don't know whether we would do it at the end of springtime or whether we would do it possibly early in the fall again. And we're also talking about maybe having the same troupe that came in and did the Julia Child. I don't know if any of you had seen that.
Wonderful.
That was amazing. People were laughing, so, tearing up. It was so funny. And they do a whole range of different things, so we thought we would talk with them and see what other kinds of things we could do. And that would be a fundraiser. And so that's pretty much what we got in the works right now.
Good.
If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I mean, the planning for, even the car thing is
I
not too far away,
It's all
if you're gonna
fun
try and
stuff.
do June.
It's all fun
It's all
stuff.
fun stuff.
It is. And it should be. I mean, really, because even though the money is important, it's the outreach that's the really important part of what we're doing right now. Before my time, when we were building the building and we had the building fund and everybody was focused on this, it was more focused on the money. But now, since we've got the building,
Yeah.
and we're just kind of doing programming things rather than building things, that we're really looking at what kinds of outreach could we do? Are there other things that we could do? I mean, we don't just work with the Council on Aging, we also work with the food pantry. We make donations to them every big holiday. We're looking for other kinds of things that we could do like that, where we could bring support to seniors. We know there are lots of seniors that can't come into the senior center, and we're exploring ways of looking at what we could do to do outreach to them and support them as well.
Good.
So,
Yeah, we need the outreach.
yeah, we really do. And I don't know, you probably know this, but about a third of the people in Scituate are over the age of 60 at this point. So that's an incredibly high percentage
Yep.
of people in such a small town.
Yeah. Very good, that's a busy
Well,
overview, but that's great.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a nice explanation.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
There was talk about getting a second defibrillator for upstairs.
A second?
Defibrillator,
Did they
Oh,
I don't know.
we had asked that there be one in every room, and I believe we were told that there is one in every room. We could check. We checked in this room once, and it was in the top closet. But what we don't know is whether anybody is doing some kind of training on using it. We checked it once, but I think it's pretty 1, 2, 3,
Follow the directions.
you attach,
Yeah.
you turn it on,
You turn
you
it on.
clear.
Well, when you turn it on, I think it
Yeah.
tells you what to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's probably four steps. It's pretty easy. But still, I think people would feel more comfortable if we did have something that would be a training for that.
I mean, I'm assuming all the staff is not only trained, but knows where things are, but if you're using a room,
Yeah, like,
Right.
whoever's conducting the room program should know.
Well, I know we checked this one when we had our meeting here, and it was here. And then we checked the one where we knit, and there was one there. But I take Tai Chi, I've never checked in there to see if there's one in there.
There should be like a sticker.
There
Yes,
should be something,
Yeah,
yeah, because
where it
I'm
is.
in this room and I didn't, I mean, I saw that there was a thing that said FOSS on it, but I didn't take a close look at it.
Yep.
I just figured it was a first aid
No.
box.
no,
See, because I had no idea.
right. But nobody's asked us for any money, so I can't tell you that we are waiting for some to come in.
No, nothing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. That's probably a Linda question.
Yeah,
Yeah, we just have some sort of a plaque that says emergency.
Right. I think they have decals that say whatever it is, AER or AED or whatever.
okay, thank you. So, part of the chaos at the beginning of the meeting was passing out a lot of different paper, and hopefully everyone's got some of those papers at this point. Just as an overview in terms of our campaign for accreditation. Again, this is a self-accreditation program that the Scituate Council on Aging is undergoing. We do have a time frame that we're trying to hit, and I believe that's June sometime, I'm not sure if it's June 1st or June 30th. And in effect, it is a self-analysis of what we do, how we do it, in any way, shape, or form. How we manage money in terms of assets, fiscal and asset committee or subject matter. How we evaluate what we're doing for community connection, what we're doing for programs and outreach, what we're doing for facilities, how we're using all those things. So there are 9 different categories that we're going to try to examine.
If you look at this paper here, it like gives you the 9 standards.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Who is the accreditation agency?
The National Institute of Councils on Aging.
Okay, thank you.
So that so we have 9 different
Standards.
sort of standards, yeah, subcommittees, I'm gonna call them. Each of, what we've done is assign each of the board members to a subcommittee. Each subcommittee will likely have 3 to 4 different people on the committee. So there'll be a board member, there'll be possibly a staff person from the Council on Aging, and 1 or 2 people either from town or people who are sort of affiliated and active in town that we are asking to come in and give us their opinion and their time to help in certain areas. So there'll be 3 or 4 people per committee. Susan and I talked about this a little bit offline before the meeting. What we really need to do, is finalize all the folks that are going to be involved. So we anticipate that's going to be, probably 30 to 35 people. We will, and we need to jump into this, and I sent Linda an email on this today, even though she's down in Florida. We want to, establish a stake in the ground for a date to bring that group together so that we can give everyone, Linda can give everyone an overview. I mean, it'll be, she'll, be involved in giving everyone the summary of everything that's going on, but as we break it down, each subcommittee will then be charged to delve into, drill into, dive into their subject matter content, and also self-regulate themselves in terms of, and self-schedule themselves in terms of, look, we 3 need to meet on this and discuss this soon. When can we 3 meet as a committee to discuss this? And then, that's how it will play out in terms of March and April. But we're reviewing, what we're doing, what can be done better, what should we look for in the future,
And a strategic. plan.
Yeah,
Do you
So-
wanna like just go so that Marie has it for the notes, like who the board member is for each
Sure.
one of the standards?
so we have, in the purpose and planning,
That's
sub-
standard one, if you're following along. with this,
subcommittee
yeah.
is Susan. And we're still, bringing in a couple of other people to join that committee.
Yeah, that's, well, actually Karen Canfield is gonna be on that committee, and Linda.
Okay.
So that's who that committee is gonna
And
be.
we still maybe had somebody else, but
Maybe.
we'll see. Community Connections was Marie. And I believe we've got someone from, Kim Stewart from Scituate Community Christmas. And we're still waiting on a couple of other folks. And the staff person would be Erin, who's our outreach person. The governance committee is Pat, along with Linda. And I think we've confirmed, well, not sure if we've confirmed these people, so I'm not gonna mention any other names. The administration HR committee is Janice, assuming you're okay with that also, and, because you just got a chance to talk to you about it before the meeting, but you're fine.
And that'll be Joe.
And Jill Johnson from downstairs, office manager. Programming development and implementation, Susan Pope, and Jessica Suki from the staff. I think Lucille Sorrentino is going to be on that committee, and there's a couple of other names that I don't have confirmation with yet.
And
Vignani. but I'm not-
is confirmed.
Okay,
She
so
was
Ann
confirmed.
Vignani.
Ann Vignani will be on that committee.
The evaluation standard committee will be D, along with Jen Adams, who's conducting our Monday social day program. And I know a couple of other names, I think I've
Bill
got,
Geary
Bill Geary is
is
confirmed,
confirmed.
so, but there's at least maybe one other name there. Fiscal and asset response, so some of the people that we invited from the community, we haven't gotten responses back yet. And, or, I'm not sure if Linda was able to get to some people she committed to try to find before she took off, on vacation, this week, So fiscal and asset responsibility is Leslie, and I think Linda was gonna hop in a little bit there, and Jim Canavan from the community, and I'm not sure of anybody else yet.
So Jim is confirmed.
Yep. Records and reports, Lori. We had, again, maybe Linda's sitting in on this, but
Yeah.
Linda shouldn't be sitting in on 5 different committees.
No.
And then I'm facilities, I'm gonna be involved in the facilities and operations. We've asked Bob Chesia from the Historical Society, and he agreed verbally when we corralled him as he stumbled into our meeting, but
Say hi to us.
I'm not sure if he knew what he was agreeing to, so I've asked him to confirm that. And so that's kind of where we are.
One other thing I will add, so Janice for the administration and HR, I did reach out to Anita Ahern, and she is confirmed that she will be doing that.
And community connections, I also, Marie, we've got Gordon Price, Kim Stewart, yourself, and Aaron
So Gordon,
Lamont.
and who's
This is
gonna,
under
What? Which one is that?
The community connections.
is
It'd be
Gordon Price?
Marie Gordon, Aaron Lamont from downstairs, and Kim Stewart from Scituate Community Christmas. So those are all, that one's confirmed. So we still got some names that we haven't heard from yet, and I don't want to throw out names until they've accepted.
Yeah, so when we met, we came up with, between the three of us, like a list of names, and we sort of divvied it up and then did the outreach. But the other thing I just want to add is, so the thing that we were scrambling about, because Jill put this together and had left it, so each one of you have this for your respective standard. And so just so you know, it's not like a shot in the dark. There is, each one of the standards has a very specific series of questions and guidelines on what you're supposed to be evaluating. or assessing. The thing that's different here is that the way it used to be was it was a very long and lengthy process. And now they've changed it and streamlined it to have it be more of a self-assessment process. And then each committee, when they complete their standards guidance, which is specific, you know, some of it is checking off the boxes and rating it, some of it is free, you know, like writing. And then you have to come up with an action plan too, you know, figuring out like what are the things that we're doing well, what are the things that we should be doing that we're not doing, what are the things that we're doing that could be doing better.
What should we be looking at in the future?
And then our future.
Yeah.
So once each subcommittee finishes their self-assessment, so initially we're gonna have an orientation meeting and it will be with everyone, right? All the committees and their specific people. And then each committee, as JD said, is gonna go out and have their own meetings, probably a couple of meetings, right, to go through this. And then we'll bring everybody back together and each committee will report, you know, give a little report on what they came up with, and then we'll take all of that, and then we have to hand it over to NICA, and they will then hopefully approve it, and we'll get the accreditation. So this is more of a streamlined process, and that's why it's like, you know, they want it done in 6 months. And it's actually coinciding with the fiscal year, which ends on June 30th. That's the fiscal year for the senior center.
Because last month, when she was in, oh yeah, I'd love to help. And boom, a month's gone by. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-
Right, that's why we wanna jump. I mean,
Well, Linda had to
we need
like
make-
send
we
in
need
a
to move.
fee, and she had to wait to get the whole booklet, and there's a
Yeah.
presentation, and it took, you know, in other words, once we said, yeah, let's do this,
It still took some time.
it took a little bit of time, you know, she had to submit the application, she had, you know, submit an application fee,
Fee.
which was pretty sizable, and then, once they got their money, then they gave all this stuff, you know, it's a big booklet, so, I think it's well worth it, and the other thing is that some of our surrounding senior centers already are accredited, like Duxbury, and I think Marshfield, or Cohasset.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's got what. Norwell might be,
Yeah, some of
Hingham,
them, some of our
Hingham,
sister
I'm
senior
not
centers
sure. I
are
can't
doing
remember.
this process as well. But several of them already have accreditation, and from my own personal, you know, feelings, particularly now that we're started this day program, which is an unbelievable program, and Jen Adams is like, you know, she's unbelievable, so we're really lucky to have her. But I think, you know, now that we're really expanding programming, having the accreditation is really, I think, an important thing for us to do, so,
and the process.
yeah. And
You
going
know,
through
we
the
need to look
process.
at, you know, again, where we are, what we're doing well, what we're not doing well, and where we envision in the future. So we need to, so that's the self-analysis.
Yeah, like what's going on at other senior centers that are really great. Whoops, that was only my phone. My new phone that costs a ridiculous amount of money.
So, I think everyone's got some information. Please feel free to take a look at it at your earliest convenience. Really, our next step is to just finalize the participants from the community and try to establish a date, hopefully very soon.
For the orientation.
For the orientation. I mean, I anticipate, you know, it'll be,
Has to be in March.
you know, sometime, you know, and we'll pick a date and we'll pick a time and, you know, whatever, 4 o'clock or whatever we think is the most convenient time for the most people to attend. And
we can also have some people attend on
and
Zoom.
Zoom, and sort of lay this whole thing out one more time to all the participants, but then, you know, let everybody take action steps and jump into starting their own.
Yeah, I think there's
Their own
also,
self-commit.
isn't there like a little video also that everyone can get a copy?
There may be, yeah, so.
Yeah, so there's, you know, it's not just like, you're not gonna blindly go off and, you know, pour yourself a cup of coffee and say, okay, what are we supposed to talk about?
Yeah, and we don't want to we don't need to reinvent the wheel either. We might have a lot of data, for example, on certain subcommittees that, you know, tie into some of the planning that happened to build this building.
Yeah.
Or, reviewing your mission statement. Well, we did that X number of years ago, it's a good thing to redo it again, but it probably, if it's pretty clean, the mission statement, you know, is in good shape. So, and taking from 5-year plan and things along those lines. So there's data taken from the Live Well Scituate outline that we laid out a couple of years ago that we haven't moved on. So there's data points for various subject matter areas that we can pull from. But eventually, all the subcommittees will report in, and we'll have to consolidate all this information and submit it. So, but the next step is to establish that orientation meeting. So we will be doing that as soon as possible. Everyone's got some information. Hopefully, again, take a look at it. If you have any questions, just, you know, holler now, later, online, etc. There's probably some information, like Susan said, that we can, additional information that we can get out to you. But, you know, hopefully between now and our next committee meeting, board meeting, we'll have an orientation meeting to get going on.
So your governance, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so here's a bunch of copies that you can have for your committee members. So you won't have to make copies of your guide.
Good.
How long does the accreditation last?
I believe it's 5 years. So that's all I've got on accreditation, unless Susan, you have anything else to add?
No, I think we just need to wait.
We just need to
Wait to, you know. to
wait and
find-
then get going.
Wait and then get going, yeah. So
So-
as soon as Linda comes back, I'm sure she'll, you know, she may have already reached out to some people and we
Yeah,
just don't
we don't
have that
know.
information because she really needed to get to Florida to see her dad, so. Yeah, so once she comes back, we'll finalize the subcommittees and nail down, you know, a time for the orientation early in March. So then it will give the committees a chance to meet, you know, a few times, whatever month they need. And then we'll do the reporting meeting and get it all together and submitted so that we'll meet the deadline.
So how much time do you think each committee is going to be putting into this? Is it a monthly thing? Is there?
It's gonna be up to the committee, but, you
It's
know,
gonna be- yeah, it's
we're
gonna be-
figuring, you know, maybe a minimum of 2 meetings, maybe 3. Because you have
And that's
the
a minimum,
form.
it might be 4 or 5.
Yeah, maybe, depends upon, so some of the committees are, like, the Community Connection Committee, the programs, those committees are gonna have to have more
Bigger.
people and will probably take more time. But then on the other hand, Jess is like, you know, she's got, you know, a lot of information. So some of the committees, like governance, for example, you know, that might only take a couple of meetings, because again, it's a matter of looking through this, figuring out what information you already have to fill out the form, what information you don't have. And if you look at it, you'll see that, you know, a lot of it is check the box. You know, I mean, I only have the governance one, but, you know, like responsibility, review senior center mission, and then it's like, who are the people that do it? So it's like literally, some of these things are really checking off the box. So if you have a box that's not checked off, that's going to become part of your action plan, right? So for example, if the charitable arm of the senior center or the advisory council, or let's say the staff, doesn't review the senior center mission, then that's, I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying that that's what happens or doesn't happen. But, you know, if you look at these, you'll see a lot of it is check off the boxes. And figuring out what you're doing and
Yeah.
what you're not doing and what needs to be done or what needs to be done.
Yeah, Marie, I think, you know, to answer your question, I think, you know, a committee, the subcommittee initial meeting is initially going to be, you know, even just people meeting each other for the first time. Who are you and why, you know, and what's your background, if nothing else. But then you've got a sort of an outline to begin to attack. So I would think, you know, your first committee meeting, you probably ought to limit it to an hour and see how far you get. You may get quite a ways in and have some assignments to do between the first meeting and the second meeting, and maybe by the third meeting, you're closing it up and being done. But it just depends on the parties involved and the subject matter that you're drilling into.
Yeah.
So it
I
seems.
mean, we don't want it to be onerous, it's not a full-time job.
No.
But
Right.
So,
It's
you
gonna
know,
take some
if
time.
you-
It's
if you
gonna take
have
some
like
time.
3 months, right, March, April, May, you know, you may choose, you know, the committee might want to choose like, you know, they might, you know, your committee might want to meet once a week for 3 weeks and just
Be
get it
done.
done.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's up to the committee and the availability. You know, we're not gonna put any, you know, like we're not gonna say each committee has to meet on, you know,
Yeah.
this frequent.
Whatever works for
Yeah,
the
whatever
3 or 4 people that are in
Yeah.
the committee.
Exactly. So, and like, you know, as we said, I mean, some of these, like administration and HR is not gonna, you know, take as much time, for example, as, let's say, assessing community connections.
We don't.
So it seems like a staff member is key to each one of these
Yes.
groups. So like mine, we have Jen Adams, she just started, didn't she?
Well,
She
So-
just started here, but she's,
she's very
Okay.
engaged in the
So,
community.
Because I would think a lot of the information is,
Well,
here.
Linda is gonna be floating around,
Yeah.
she's not gonna be assigned to each one, but she's a wealth of information. But also, I mean, like, let's take the transportation coordinator, who's just starting in March, but she's been really involved in the town. I mean, she works in, you know, one of the elementary schools, you know, she worked, you know, in the library, and, I mean, a whole bunch of other things. She runs a swim program for the whole town. So, you know what, this is why it's not just a staff member, but also people that are in the community.
but
active folks in the
if
community.
you need to supply a plan, isn't that the staff member that would have that, or am I missing something here?
The plan would be that you're gonna have an outline of the plan that you've gotta,
Okay,
Yeah, you're
so-
gonna have an outline.
you've gotta populate that plan.
So explain
The staff
that the
member won't be
evaluation
one.
function is carried out at your senior center. I didn't know that.
Well, so you may have to talk to Linda about that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
they are definitely key.
yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Okay.
You know, I
But there's
mean,
not enough staff to go around denying
Right,
commitment.
yeah.
so-
yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing, so, you know, which, you know, but you'll figure it out, you'll
Okay.
be able to get the information, it's not gonna be
Yeah,
that
questions
difficult.
will percolate up to the surface and you can, yeah, ask around for answers.
And
The
some
other
of it may
one,
already be
Susan,
written
on
down
how it
in
can be-
documentation, you know what I mean? So it's a matter of just taking the documentation and,
Right,
and,
but
and
again, you need to know that.
well, that's why
it's
Linda, I mean,
somewhere.
we're
Right,
intentionally
right, yeah.
not letting Linda be assigned to 9 committees.
Right.
But she will be a resource that will be
So we would need
available.
to go and say.
Yeah, so you know, your committee might say, hey, Linda, can we meet with you for half an
Yeah.
hour on thus and such a day? You know what I mean, for the things that you can't find on your own.
Right.
You know, I have
Okay. Does anyone, I'm kinda done with accreditation. Yes.
I just want to make sure everybody is aware, next Wednesday, there's a meeting here. Some of you might be aware that the school is looking at replacing the two elementaries, Hadley and Cushing. So there's a presentation by the architect in the OPM on the process, just like the initial. It was just booked, so it probably isn't in the calendar. But it's next Wednesday here
Wednesday evening?
6:30.
Okay.
Like, be a side eye.
They're looking into replacing Hadley.
You've got a,
Yeah.
Pushing? Are they like knocking them down and building one school?
Possibly.
Or two and
That
two?
will be the likely.
Yeah.
plan. So,
gotta go when you gotta go.
no, we've had, there's actually been a lot of repairs in the Wampatuck, so it's in really good shape.
My kids
Well,
always
well, that-
we always
so-
were.
Headley.
And then it got
No,
split.
it's not
I
really,
was the first, I went to first grade.
there's been a lot of work done on this.
The year it opened.
But I just wanna make sure everybody knew, because it's a huge project, you know, and it's gonna take a long time. The first of 3 community
I
meetings
think it is too.
is
'cause
here
they're both
and downstairs.
you know,
It's
It's
a
just
huge-
like this,
School,
this
so-
building, is it to go through sort of an architectural outline?
It'll be the same process as like the.
You're not expecting many people?
Well, we just, you know, we just confirmed, you know, yesterday that it's gonna be here.
About an
Okay.
80-person room. That's the
Right,
only
so
reason
I just wanna
asked.
make sure everybody is aware, so they can show up and hear about it.
So is it just information, or have they made decisions, or are they just
Oh,
trying
no,
to get
this,
it
it's
through?
like, it's gonna, it was just starting out, so, yeah, the very beginning process.
So they would be two brand new schools?
No.
Is that just, oh, one,
Yeah.
combined into?
Yeah,
Oh,
Knocking down 2, building 1.
yeah.
Yeah, do they know where they're gonna build it?
I think they probably have an idea, but, you know, that'll all be, you know,
Yeah.
sorted out.
Wampatuck and Jenkins are pretty close together.
Yeah.
And then Natalie.
So,
Wednesday, a week from yesterday,
Wednesday.
so it would be the
15.
15th at 6:30 here.
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions, announcements, old business? Leslie?
The parking extension, where are we standing on that?
There, to my knowledge, there has been absolutely no movement on that. That sits with the planning board.
That's what, but they haven't said no, because I heard a rumor that they said no.
No to what
The
though
planning
exactly?
board is sitting,
No to what exactly?
To expanding the parking
expanding the
lot.
parking lot.
Oh, because I was asking Jess about it, because it was so bad here Wednesday.
Yeah,
So she led me to believe it was just up in the air.
It's still up in the air as far as I know. It sits with the planning board who wants to have a better input on a master plan, and I'm not sure where that master plan's gonna come from. They asked us to give them the data that we gave them. And then we gave it to them, and they said, right.
Were
So,
they the ones that said that this was a good place for the food pantry?
the planning board? No, I don't know if how much the planning board got involved in that. That seemed to me to be more Jim Boudreau.
I'm the select board.
Yeah.
'cause it's a
So that was
building,
sort of a surprise. Like,
and an impact on the parking lot.
yeah, like
Very much so.
we didn't know that was coming, and all of a sudden we're building this building and they're moving in. So,
Oh, they weren't there before?
no.
No.
And they needed to
But
get
they
out.
only
They
have a door and the numbers.
They were over to
Where were they
Scituate
before?
Temple,
Oh,
Scituate Lodge over on Country Way. They had a lease that was expiring. They needed to move.
Because they didn't have parking.
Now, there was plenty of parking over there. But they needed to get out of that building. So,
Do we have
anyways,
enough space for the parking for the recreation department?
I haven't heard anything about parking for rec. I'm sure it's heavier in the summertime when people are using tennis courts and things like that, but,
And after school hours. too.
yeah, yeah. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
And a second, very good, thank you all for coming. So I'm sure we'll be in touch, I'm sure we'll be trying to set up a time for the accreditation meeting, and our next meeting will be March 9th.
With this,